Hi everyone, and welcome back to Life Uninterrupted.
If this is your first time visiting our channel, thanks for tagging along.
And we'd love to have you subscribe and join our community. Hit the notification bell and you'll be notified every time we release a new video, which should be about weekly. We recently did a video on travel to Puerto Penasco, Rocky Point, Mexico, which was a very successful video, very informative, and many of you had so many questions about traveling down to Rocky Point and what that required that we didn't cover in the video. So we thought we'd do an update and go through all of those little steps that might be important for you to know as you travel into Mexico, specifically into Rocky Point or Puerto Penasco. First of all, let's do a disclaimer. And most of the information that we have to share with you today, you can get off of statedepartment.gov website. Is that correct, Brian?
Yeah, and so State Department is really your go-to resource for any sort of travel advisories or cautions that that might be put out by the State Department for U.S. citizens traveling abroad. I think it's very important that you check that before going to any country or travel internationally.
So what we're going to share today is based on our observations and our experience.
Yeah, so we're going to cover basically 7 points, and that's going to be the personal documents that are going to be required, any pet documents that might be required if you're bringing pets in, any vehicle documentation requirements, also border search expectations, both from the border guard there in Mexico,
right,
and the Mexican military search that's probably going to happen. That's kind of been increasing lately.
Right.
Nothing to be scared of, but it's going to happen.
And again, this is from our experience crossing at the Lukeville border. We can't speak for other border crossings.
Right, that's true, yeah. And things you can bring into Mexico, things you cannot bring into Mexico. I think we're going to focus primarily on the things you cannot bring into Mexico.
Yes.
This is going to be super important, so you want to stick around for that.
Right.
And another big question we get is, do I need to exchange dollars for pesos? We'll talk about that.
Can I use my credit card down there? We'll talk about that.
Debit card, things like that. And also, what if I get pulled over by the authorities? So definitely you're going to want to stick around for that. Because
personal documents. What do I need to take with me into Mexico, and what will I need then to have when I cross the border back into the United States to make sure it goes smoothly?
So the number one reference we want to point to is back to the State Department website, and again we'll put a link to that. So according to the State Department, passports have been required when crossing by land into Mexico since 2009. So that's really nothing new. Now there have been reports that people have been getting by with driver's licenses and birth certificates and things like that. I suppose that would work. We can't say. All we're going to reference is what the State Department says.
We've had some family and friends that have been able to come back across the border to the United States with just their birth certificate or the driver's license. I wouldn't recommend it because you just never know, and it could be a longer wait for you to get across the border. We traveled into Puerto Penasco with our pets, and we have 2 French bulldogs, so it was a matter of researching the requirements. Did we also find that on the State Gov website? I don't recall.
No, we actually found that on, I believe it was the Mexican immigration website.
What we did is we researched travel with pets into Puerto Penasco and found case after case where we had to have these particular documents in order to travel with our pets.
Right.
So pets are allowed. I guess that's probably the most important message. Pets are allowed to travel into Puerto Penasco, but there are some requirements that you have to meet. So that they must have a valid rabies certificate that was obtained no less than 30 days before travel. Then secondary, they have to have a health certificate that is signed off by your veterinarian that has to be within 10 days of the date you plan to be in Mexico. So those are 2 very key points. The health certificate, the rabies certification, or the rabies vaccination.
I think it's important to point out too that we were never asked for any certifications or documentation for the pets.
And then there's that.
You know, but the thing is, if you don't have that and they ask you for it, they can quarantine your pets. Right. So the next topic of discussion is vehicle documentation and what you'll need to bring with you. U.S. driver's licenses are valid in Mexico. However, U.S. and Canadian auto insurance is not valid in Mexico. So you'll need to obtain liability insurance or liability coverage that is valid on all federal highways, bridges, and local states and territories within Mexico, specifically the area that you're going to travel. and not a big deal. You can go online and research. There are a number of companies. Lewis & Lewis is one. Sanborn is another. We'll put the links to those.
Yes.
And the nice thing is when you drive in through Ajo, Mexico, to go to the border there at Lukeville, there are a number of insurance agents there that can handle all that for you. So, you know, super easy, and depending on how long you stay, it can be, inexpensive
or expensive in our case, because we had to go beyond liability. We needed something that looked more like comprehensive insurance. Because we were bringing our RV along with our tow vehicle down into Mexico, and we wanted that covered fully should there be a fire, theft, anything like that in our RV.
Yeah, so it's important to note any vehicle that you intend to operate on the roadways in Mexico must be insured.
Right.
Depending on the level of coverage you're comfortable with, that will dictate how much your premium is.
And shop around. There are tons of insurance places available online. Check with your own insurance company. They may offer it. As we came through the border, we had first the border guards that just kind of asked us a question, where you headed, and then waved us through. The secondary stop was with the military police. And not everyone gets this stop when they're coming in. As we mentioned, I think it was kind of a slow day, and so we got pulled over into a stopping area. Military police then came into our RV, and they proceeded to do a very thorough search. It's a little surprising. I've never seen that actually happen. Took about 20 minutes, and they pretty much went through all of our cupboards, our drawers, our safe, my purse, just about everything. They're able to do that. Our recommendation is if you get pulled over for one of those searches, remain courteous, be patient, answer their questions, and you'll be on your way.
All right, so let's talk about what you can and what you can't bring into Mexico. And again, this video is not intended to be an all-inclusive list. The very big billboards just before you cross the border.
Oh, yes.
The signage that says, here's these things you can't bring in. So the biggest thing being weapons.
Right.
Absolutely no firearms. Not really allowed to carry weapons of any kind, and that includes firearms, knives, daggers, brass knuckles, and ammunition. Even empty shells.
Yeah, don't make that mistake.
Yeah, ammunition is almost a bigger deal than bringing the actual weapon in.
No weapons, no ammunition, period.
Period.
Don't even think about it.
Don't even think about it.
Yes. I think meat is another big one. You cannot bring meat across.
Another thing is alcohol. You can only have a certain amount of alcohol. I believe in terms of hard liquor or spirits, it's 3 liters per person. But again, don't quote me on that. Do your own research. Go to the State Department or the Mexican Immigration website, and it will explain everything for you, what you can and can't bring in.
Yes. In fact, those websites that you just mentioned, they have an exhaustive list of what you can and can't bring in. Go check it before you head down.
And they change frequently, so that's why it's important for us to not say to you absolutely what you can and can't bring, because they may say at some point it's okay to bring this now when last year it wasn't. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Was there something about cash? The amount of cash that you can bring in?
Maximum of $10,000.
Okay.
You have to declare anything over $10,000. Yeah. And that's the same coming into the U.S.
Another frequent question that we got as a result of our video was, can I bring cash? Can I bring credit cards? Can I use them? Should I exchange my dollars for pesos? And yes, you can bring cash. Yes, you can bring debit and credit cards. A lot of places accept both of those. I don't think it would be advisable to bring checks, your own personal checks. No. It might be okay. We've never used them. We don't know of anyone who's used personal checks down there. I
wouldn't think so. It's an international thing, so I wouldn't imagine they would accept an international check.
Right.
Or a foreign check.
The one thing that you're going to get the best deal on is if you do bring cash and you exchange that for pesos, you're going to get the better deal.
Yep.
Every time we go down there, we forget to do that until like the last couple of days, and then we start getting these really great deals because now we have the pesos to pay for it. But they have, I think they're Cambias. I'm probably not saying that right, but they're dollar-peso exchange booths that are set up around Rocky Point down in the fish market for sure. I know that they had it there.
I think most hotels and resorts even offer that service.
Oh, they probably.
And there are banks and ATMs that we have used and been okay using. We haven't noticed anything we haven't noticed any suspicious activity with our debit cards, or I'm not sure if we've used credit card down there or not. I don't recall.
We have, yes.
We have, but we haven't noticed any suspicious activity.
Most shops and restaurants have their prices in pesos, but when they give you the bill, you'll notice that they'll put that in both pesos and dollars to make it easier for you. If you don't know and they give it to you in pesos, just ask. Most of them, I don't think we've encountered anyone who couldn't translate the price in pesos to dollars for us.
When we have gone to restaurants where they give you the price in dollars or pesos, there'll usually be a little sign somewhere that gives you the conversion. And they're usually taking a small percentage to convert that into dollars for you. I mean, I think it's only right. Another big question we get is, what should I do if I get pulled over in Mexico? Pulled over by an authority, police officer or a federal police officer. Just like in the U.S., just remain calm, be respectful, be courteous, and provide the information that they ask you to provide. One thing you want to be careful of, however, is to never pay a fine on the spot if you're not absolutely positive the person pulling you over is an actual police authority.
So the recommended approach to that is to follow that individual to the actual police station and pay the fine there versus paying it on the spot.
You know, this happens very infrequently. Again, follow the rules, follow the speed limits, especially when you go through Sonoita. Make sure you're traveling in kilometers per hour and not miles per hour, because that's where they get you. Follow the rules. That goes for anything. And you can be in the U.S. and breaking those laws and get pulled over as well. It's no different in Mexico. Again, just be respectful and courteous and follow the rules.
That's right. A couple of extra tips that we'd like to share with you when traveling to Puerto Penasco. One, always travel during the daytime.
Absolutely.
We don't recommend that you travel at night, and the State Department is going to say the same thing. Now, we've traveled many times, just the two of us. We've had no problems. If you can travel with someone else, even better. That might be helpful if you have any questions or any concerns at all in traveling, and this goes for Mexico, Europe, you know, wherever you're traveling abroad. There is a website out there by the U.S. Department of State. It's called the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program, STEP. You can go onto that website, enroll, put in your information, and it's a great resource for you should you have an emergency. You know, one additional tip that we would recommend when you're coming back to the United States from Rocky Point, a big question is, how long is the wait at the border? You hear this question all the time. Well, the CBP, which is the
Customs and Border Patrol,
thank you, has put together an app that shows you the wait times coming across the border into the United States at several different points. So if you're coming back from Rocky Point and you're crossing the Lukeville border, there is an app that you can put on your phone that will show you 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hour, whatever that wait might be. Of course, those border waits are going to be longer on holiday weekends. Just plan on it. In fact, for holiday weekends, you could probably say 2 hours. I would say minimum.
At least 2 hours
coming back. Yeah.
At least.
Versus, let's say, a Monday morning at 9 a.m. non-holiday weekend. You may look at 10, 15 minutes to get across the border.
So I think that's a wrap. The biggest takeaways here are, don't take our word for everything. Visit statedepartment.gov, and the Mexican immigration website. We'll link all those in the description and probably flash them on the screen too. And just to be sure that the information you have is up to date.
If you have any questions or comments that you would like to add, please put them down in the comment section. We'd be happy to answer those for you, and we're really encouraging you to go to Rocky Point, go to Puerto Penasco, and have a fabulous time. And until then, we'll see ya!